My Path to Fire says, great analogy. The Bitcoin system is so much fun and exciting too. The metal scene is very sad and disaster, folks. I couldn't agree more with that. I wonder why I never really resonated too much with like the precious metals crew. They're all just focused on like the world ending, and everybody's going to be in a doomsday scenario, roaming the earth, eating dead rats with their silver in their pocket. Like Bitcoin is going to be in a function. I'm betting on a functioning society. I don't know what it's going to look like getting to that point, but eventually humans will figure it out and we're going to live in a functioning society. And Bitcoin is the best tool for that, without a doubt. You can send it anywhere on earth for zero fees pretty much if you know how to do it. Sounds like I'm getting mad here, but I'm really not. I'm just fired up. I want this thing to move faster, but I understand that it's going to take time. But we still can have an impact on this. We still can have an impact on this. And I'll see if we have any more questions. If not, oh, there's one more question here. This is from Quad Tap. I love the names on YouTube. It says, I have a hardware device that only gives the option to generate 24-word seeds, but I would like to use a 12-word seed with it. I'm thinking about using a different hardware wallet to create a truly random 12-word seed and then importing it into a device. To create a truly random 12-word seed and then importing it into the device that will provide me with a 24-word seed. I will also be using a fairly robust passphrase. I mean, makes sense to me, I guess. It seems like a lot of extra steps. Just get a cold card, set up a 24-word seed, add a passphrase. That's it. You're done. The most secure device you'll have. You don't have to worry about importing, exporting, different wallets. Get a cold card, put like, depending on how much Bitcoin you have, this is what I would do. I would get a cold card. Let's say that you have 1 Bitcoin. That's how much you're storing here. I would get a cold card. I would create a 24-word private key just because I'm more familiar with it. I got the knowledge here. I know how to protect it. I'm going to be very careful with writing my words down, putting it onto a steel plate. I'm going to go with the 24 words. I put about 1% or 2% of that Bitcoin, so 2 million sats, I put into that wallet. The rest, I set up a passphrase, which creates a new wallet. I move the 98% of my Bitcoin into the backup one, the 24-word with a passphrase. You keep your 24 words in one spot. You either memorize your passphrase. I would suggest writing it down somewhere where your family can also access it and let them know that that's a thing there. Because if you think about it, and I think about this stuff all the time, but if I went through all that trouble and I set up my passphrase, my 24 words, moved all my Bitcoin into it, my family finds my 24 words if something happened to me, and then they think that I had only 2 million sats. And they have no idea that I have a passphrase behind that with 98 million sats on the other side of that. So if you do go through that route of setting up a passphrase, make sure you write it down somewhere, not just memorize it. Keep it separate from your backup phrase, but write it down and make sure you notify your family that exists. And actually, there's a couple people, we're working on an inheritance thing here. And we're going to have more information on that, but we're basically going to give you all this instruction. We're going to give you a nice piece of paper that you can either leave with your lawyer at the bank or just keep private at your house. But it's going to give your family members all the information, including that, like a passphrase. Because I think the biggest problem in Bitcoin right now, honestly, we worry about the ETFs, we worry about the government. The biggest problem with Bitcoin right now is that I would say 95% of Bitcoiners are not ready for what's coming. Whether they don't have it stored properly, whether they haven't communicated their security process well enough with their family, all that stuff. I would say at least 95% of Bitcoiners are not prepared for what's coming. So we're going to try to help people with that. We're not really ready to launch yet or announce too much on it, but it's going to be a very reasonably priced service that I think a lot of people are going to benefit from here in this community. Shout out to My Path to Fire for the 100 sat zap. Thank you. And Crypto Ethan says, in a Mad Max world, pew metals will be more valuable than precious metals. Yes, that is true. And that's one of the famous things that people have in their heads about Bitcoin is that, what if the power goes out? What if the power goes out? That's their number one thing. Okay, well, put yourself in that scenario of a Mad Max world. The power goes out. If the power went out, first of all, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? How are you going to get in touch with your family? So keep that in mind and make sure you're putting things in place to prepare for that happening. But at the same time, who's going to accept anything? If the power goes out, they're not going to say, well, the power has gone out for 2 weeks. At the end of 2 weeks, we're going to turn the power back on. The internet will come back on. No, they're not going to do that. The power is going to go out. Everybody's going to be like absolute panic mode. And we're not going to have any idea when the power is going to come back on. So do you think that you're going to sell your food and your water and your lead for silver or gold? Who would do that? Power goes out. I'm not going to exchange a sandwich for 5 ounces of gold because I don't know when the power is going to come back on. And I value food at that point much more than I value your gold coins. So that argument there, that whole theory that precious metal people have about their gold and silver will hold up in a Mad Max world, no, it won't. Food and water will, and lead. Bitcoin won't, but neither will gold and silver. But in a functioning society, Bitcoin is 1,000 times better than gold and silver combined. And if you don't believe me, just ask BlackRock. Yeah, Peter Schiff disagrees. That's okay. I'm fine with that.